Need better stopping power on your electric bike? These 4-piston fully hydraulic brakes are easily installed. They stop your bike in half the distance compared to your stock mechanical brakes. They cost under $100. A link to the product is above and also in the description. They come with the motor cutoff switch built into the brake lever. They come in various colors. So let's get started on that install. Please like and subscribe. First thing we want to do is remove the battery, unlock it, then remove the battery from the bike and set it aside. Next thing we're going to do is remove the grip so we can slide off the brake lever. What you're going to do is twist this, and then this grip will come off. To remove the throttle, you'll need a 3mm hex, and you'll reach under here, loosen that up. That got the throttle. Then you'll need to loosen the grip. Loosen the grip like that. Set that aside. Then remove the throttle. Set that aside. Take note not to lose this cap. That's what prevents the throttle from being pinched against the shorter grip. And now I'm going to use a 5mm hex underneath here to remove the brake levers from the handlebars. Next, I want to come up here and remove this cable wrap so I can feed the cables through the frame. Next, moving down here to the front brake caliper, take note of how the washers are spaced. If anything, take a picture of it so you can put it back with the same type of spacing. I'm going to start here at the top. I'm just going to loosen this. Then I'm going to move down to the bottom. This is also 5mm. Go ahead and loosen that. That will release the cable. Then you can feed the cable back through. You might need some pliers up here to bend these tabs back. You can feed the cable through here. If not, you can always feed it like that. Take note how the two washers are between the caliper. That sets the offset of the caliper appropriately so it doesn't rub on the brake rotor. Moving up to the top, I'm going to remove the front brake lever and pull the cable through the frame. Moving to the rear brake, what I'm going to do is loosen the cable, hold like this and pull it through. And then I'm going to remove the brake caliper from the bracket. Remember to take note how the washers are positioned to get the proper standoff. Okay, we're going to pull that out. Now you'll need some zip tie cutters to cut the cable retentions on the frame here. And you're going to have to feed it through. You're going to see there's a few different connection points here. There's also one just on the inside here. Go ahead and cut that. Down like this. Then there's a bundle down here that you need to cut. So I did have to remove that skid plate, and there was one more zip tie underneath there. So there we have it. I removed the rear brake, and we're ready for the install. To start the install, we're going to start on the rear brake. Now take note that there's two different length brake cables. There's a shorter one for the front brake and then a longer one for the rear brake. So I'm going to start with this one. You can see the cable's much longer. And what I want to do is install this here. I'm going to reuse the same bracket and try to reuse the same spacers. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts from the bracket that came with the 4-piston calipers. Go ahead and remove those, set those aside, and then I'm going to put the brake caliper over the rotor. I'm going to remove the clip here, and you can see that the pads are much larger than the stock ones. And I want to take note here and see exactly how much engagement there is. It actually looks pretty good without the spacer on this bike. Now, if it's too close and it's rubbing back here on the body, what you want to do is add some of these misalignment spacers to move the brake caliper outward. And if there's not enough engagement, you may need to use the different bracket. You could utilize the one that's for the front, whichever one gives you the proper engagement. So if I put this on here like that, I'm getting pretty good engagement with this Cybervelo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use it without the spacers. And what I want to do is put these bolts on here. I'm going to use the ones that came with the caliper because they're a lot shorter. And what I want to do is just tighten these down so they're about finger tight. And then I'm going to come back and adjust the alignment. And I'm going to show you how to easily adjust the alignment so it's not rubbing and that the caliper is centered on the rotor. We'll go ahead, put those like this. Now this caliper can float in and out like this, so it allows for adjustment on engagement, and we'll do that once we get the brake lever installed. Now what I want to do is route the cable through the frame in the same direction that the stock cable was. All right, I'm going to leave those zip ties loose for right now, and then I'll do the cable management when I'm all said and done. Let's move on to the front brake install. Okay, to install the front brake, we're going to use the caliper with the shorter cable, and I'm going to use the bracket that's installed. I may need to switch to this one, but let's see how well it installs. Go ahead and remove those bolts. Remove that clip. Going to install on the caliper. And I'm looking here. Want to make sure the caliper is properly engaged. It actually looks pretty good without the spacer. If I want to change the spacing and get a little more engagement, I may want to put this shorter bracket on here, which would then bring it inboard, but I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. Remember just to tighten these about finger tight so we can come back and align this later. Okay. Now I'm going to feed this through this bracket here that retains it on the fork and doesn't rub on the wheel. Now I'm going to route this up on the other side so that I can utilize that main cable wrap up to the handlebars, and I'm going to leave the cable up here resting on the handlebars. Moving up here to the handlebars, I'm going to install the brake levers. I'm going to need a 4mm hex. I'm going to loosen these just a little bit. And then I'm going to slide this right-hand lever on the right-hand side. I'm just going to leave it loose for now, and I'm going to get the sizing with the grips to ensure the proper spacing. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the left-hand side. Just loosen this up a little bit. Slide this on. Now let's reinstall this grip. Slide that on. Now what I can do is position the brake lever where I think I'll want it. Go ahead and tighten that down. Each of these screws evenly. I think it'll be about like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And remember to install this throttle. Go ahead. Put this over here. Like that. Then I'm going to take the cap. Remember, the cap prevents the throttle from being pinched against the half grip. Install that like so. I'm going to have to remove this really quick for a second to give some space to wrap this cable underneath, because this impedes that and I need the brake lever above that. So I'm going to put the brake lever about like that. Then this will sit like this so I can access the horn. Slide that in. Now everything's kosher. And I'll use my 4mm to bring this up. I may need to adjust the shifter up too, but it fits on like that. I'm going to take the 3mm and tighten that throttle down. You want to connect the brake motor cutoff switches like this. And then this one over here, it doesn't really matter. They both work the same. These are about an inch longer, so I'll hide the excess down in there. All right, now you have a decision to make. You can connect the front brake over here, which several e-bikes have, so that you're not endoing and the throttle is on this side with the front brake and then the rear brake is over here. That's what I like. You can switch them at any point or wire it up the way you want, but just take note which cable is which. So what I want to do is, I know that this one here is the front brake, so I'm going to install the front brake over here, and I want to make sure that it's on the side with the throttle, and then the rear brake will be installed on the left so I can have my one hand ready to easily brake when I let go of the throttle. To install the brake cable into the lever, the hydraulic lever, both are bled, and if you do it right, you don't have to bleed the air out. What you'll need is an 8mm socket and a 12mm socket. You want to turn this downhill so the liquid doesn't run out, and then what you want to do is have your 3 pieces ready that come with it. There's 3 little pieces here. This is called the olive, the brass piece. This is the fitting that will swage the olive on it, and then there's this protective cap. And what we want to do is take the brake cable, and you want to install the cap that's on there like this. Then this little swage piece, you may need to remove this to get it to go over, and then slide that on like this. Then what I want to do is then put my olive piece over that and make sure that it's right there on the end. Like you see here, you'll see the 3 pieces like that. And that's how we want to insert it into the end of the brake lever. So I got those fittings on there. I'm going to leave that in the upright position so that none of the oil leaks out. And now what I want to do is take my 12mm and loosen the end of this. Take your brake cable like this and then put it in the end of here like that, and then install the olive and this black swage piece. And then take your 6mm and tighten that down. getting that to seal inside that brake lever. Like that. Put that over like that. With the rear brake lever installed, and you can see that it's moving like that, what you want to do is squeeze the brake lever so it centers on the rotor, and then go ahead and tighten these bolts down. This way the brake caliper centers on the rotor, and you go ahead and tighten that down. Okay, to install the front brake, I'm going to put it on the right-hand side where the throttle is. We're going to take the front brake cable, and we're going to install this dust cap. Then we're going to install the nut that swages the olive on. We're going to put that little olive piece on, and we're going to set this aside like this, over here. And I'm going to use my 12 millimeter wrench to remove this cap on the lever. And you can see how it's pointed uphill to minimize the fluid loss. Then I'm going to take the brake cable. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to install it with that olive piece. I'm going to go ahead and thread that in place. Going to use my 6 millimeter wrench to tighten this down. I'm going to be tightening it down so there's only about an 1/8 inch thread showing. Really want to get that olive swaged into the brake lever so that it seals properly. Okay, there we go. I see the brake lever working properly down there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring the dust cap up. Maybe I'll give it another turn just to make sure that it's sealed. Get that installed. And now I'm going to go ahead and position the brake how I wanted it. Like this. Go ahead and loosen this up. Turn this around like that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead, reattach that shifter. That shifter uses a Phillips head. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all this cable. With the brake lever installed, what I want to do is do a final alignment on the brake caliper. I'm going to squeeze the lever on the handlebars like this. You can see it moving. That centers the caliper on the rotor. And now what I want to do is tighten this down, both top and bottom. This centers that caliper. Now, if I lift this up, you'll see that it moves freely. No problems. After the install, if you notice the brake lever really squishy and it depresses all the way to the handle, you may need to bleed the brakes in order to correct the situation. Now that I got the brake calipers aligned, I'm going to go ahead and clean up all these cables, zip tie them, and get everything reassembled. If you have any questions, please leave in the comments. I hope you liked this video, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.